Cold chill. It was a few hours ago, but I'm not sure whether to be concerned or just incredibly frightened. I'm a 20-year-old woman sharing a house with two roommates, and our boyfriends frequently stay over. Everything began to unravel when I was outside with my parents and boyfriend. We were handing out candy to eager trick-or-treaters on a chilling Halloween night. Our peculiar neighbors had moved in across the street around the same time we did. It was a seemingly straightforward introduction. They were just like any other couple, or so it appeared. The husband, as we learned later, was struggling with a drug addiction, while his wife rarely ventured outside due to a mysterious medical condition. The story took a sinister turn when the husband approached my family and I. Initially, the conversation was relatively pleasant, but then it metamorphosed into something grotesque. After an agonizing half hour, during which he refused to leave, he began to make outlandish accusations. He was claiming my roommates and I had been disposing of trash in his bin. He then proceeded to describe the act in gruesome detail, insisting that he had it all recorded on camera, complete with a pair of underwear that he found in the garbage bag. The person he described in those recordings was short and stout, a stark contrast to my 5'10" stature. The unsettling saga continued as he regaled us with the tales of his irate wife, who was furious over the supposed transgression. He insisted he harbored no ill will and wasn't aiming to get us in trouble. At this point, my parents retreated inside the house, leaving my boyfriend and me alone with this disturbed man. He grew increasingly insistent, repeatedly claiming that I must have committed this act, and persistently questioning why my underwear was placed on top. The truth remained that my roommates and I had never discarded anything in his garbage. Apprehension gnawed at me, and I decided to block them on Facebook, but this unnerved him even farther. He confessed that his wife had tried to contact the police regarding the matter. My parents brushed it off as the inebriated ramblings of an unhinged neighbor, but I couldn't shake the sense of unease that hung heavily on me. To add to the narrative, he shared unsettling stories about my ex-roommate, alleging that she had flirted with him while cutting our grass. There was also an inexplicable visit to her front door when he inquired about a Samantha, a name that didn't belong to my cousin or me. He left without offering an explanation after our rejection, and we hadn't heard from him since. What made this encounter even more harrowing was his timing. He meticulously waited until my parents had retreated into the safety of our house before making these gross accusations. It didn't end there. He also made references to having an arsenal of weapons and warned against provoking his wife. Halloween night had taken a disturbing twist, and the chill in the air extended well beyond the festivities that evening. Halloween Day in New York. New York City had always been a place of wonder and excitement, but it was also notorious for its hidden gems and secrets. That day, I set out with my two closest friends, Alex and Sarah, eager to uncover some place extraordinary. As we ventured into the city's labyrinthine streets, we stumbled upon a narrow alley that seemed to have a magnetic pull on us. It was unlike any place we'd ever seen before, overshadowed by towering skyscrapers and hidden away from the crowds. The sun had begun its descent, and the atmosphere was tinged with an otherworldly aura. Despite the city's reputation for caution, we decided to explore this intriguing alley in our costumes. The adults around us didn't seem to notice, caught up in their own business, and we felt a sense of liberation going off on our own. What we found at the end of the alley was a vintage bookstore that looked like it had been frozen in time. Dusty old books, and the proprietor, an old elderly man, welcomed us with a smile that was equal parts wisdom and also curiosity. He invited us to explore his collection of ancient tomes, promising to show us a world of forgotten knowledge. As teenagers, we definitely couldn't resist this offer. We lost ourselves in the pages of forgotten literature, and the elderly man was a charming storyteller, regaling us with legends while reading. It felt like we'd stumbled upon a living library. a guardian of forgotten stories. He told us he wanted to capture the essence of us in our youth and our costumes. He claimed it was a relic from a bygone era for people to come in and read like this, wearing our costumes. There was an air of mystery about the man, but he seemed harmless, at least we thought. He took our photograph with the antique camera and assured us that our image would be displayed among the many other photos of young people. Afterwards, he handed each of us a book, a gift for our curiosity. With a mix of gratitude and weirdness, we left the charming bookstore and made our way back to our worried parents. When I shared the unusual encounter with my parents, they were intrigued but mostly worried. My mother was fascinated by the idea of such a mysterious bookstore, while my father couldn't help but be concerned about our safety. We searched the local newspapers when we got home and the online archives for the place, hoping to find any trace of these photographs, but they weren't uploaded. While I never felt threatened by the man, I couldn't shake the feeling that he took the pictures for some other sort of use. We never did see those pictures go up online, and part of us is worried that even to this day, they're circulating out there to the wrong people. Neighborhood treats. Every Halloween, there was always a bunch of houses we would go to on our street. Most of them had decorations outside and were very welcoming to anybody who was interested in coming by. However, every Halloween, there was one house that we refused to go up to, Mr. Nordbeck's. Mr. Nordbeck was somewhat of a hermit, rarely coming out of his house, and more often than not, he would only come outside to yell at anybody who was getting near his property. It's safe to say he was a man who really didn't like Halloween, nor did he care for it. But as kids, that's all we were about, and we weren't about to let him intrude on our favorite holiday. This year was odd, as Mr. Nordbeck had something on his lawn that actually resembled celebrating Halloween. He had one of those skeletons that comes out of the dirt, where it looks like it's buried underneath. You know the ones if you've ever been to Party City. This was the year we were going to hit every house on our street, including his. As kids, we were so hell-bent on getting our pillowcases so full of candy that we'd have to eat it over a couple of weeks. Mr. Nordbeck was going to be the one to help us do that. Now you might ask why we didn't stay away, and to be quite honest with you, I don't have an answer for that. But what I do know is that Mr. Nordbeck was not happy. We ended up going to his front door just like we planned to, and usually he would come running out, but this time he didn't. We knocked on the door, waiting to say trick or treat upon him opening up, but there was nothing. Being the brave one of my group, I decided to get up on the bench next to his window. I wanted to get a good look inside and see if Mr. Nordbeck was possibly asleep, or maybe he just wasn't there in general. What I saw inside terrifies me to this day. There was a static TV screen on, and someone was watching it. From what I expected it to be, it looked like Mr. Nordbeck was watching it alone in the dark, or so I thought. Next to Mr. Nordbeck was what looked like a mannequin, or a doll. It was so lifelike and large that it looked like it would have been his wife or someone he'd been in love with. He sat there watching white noise, not moving one muscle. Immediately being creeped out, and now knowing exactly why we'd never go to Nordbeck's house, I told the rest of my group that we should back off immediately, and so we did. I rarely told my parents ever about this story, and the one time I did, they kind of threw it off like nothing happened. But I saw him there alone that night, or so I thought he was alone, but now I'm not so sure.